You got to go to the barber shop like every 4 days because your hairline's so thin.
Right.
It's time to go bald.
It's time to go
You're
bald.
holding on to nothing.
Right.
But you always make sure the bean is clean.
The
bean has to be clean, man.
Yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. We're here. You know it, December 15th, week 15, almost in the books. I am next to the bean. It is clean. The bean who's clean over here is sitting next to the big-headed blonde, okay? The biggest head in sports media, all right? So we got a lot of things in common that way.
Hey, if you can be the best at something, it doesn't always matter
It's right.
what it is.
You just want to be the best at something. I'll take it. I was usually one of the bigger helmets on the football team. And people would look at me and go, well, like, when you look at me straight on, I don't look like I have the biggest head. Yeah. But my head's long. Anybody wants to look in the camera right here. So I had to have, like, an extra large helmet. I'm a 7 5/8, 7 3/4 fitted hat.
Big brain, smart guy.
I believe it does.
I'm sure you told your wife that when you met her.
100%.
Yeah. And you were a quarterback.
Exactly.
Smart position, everything
I tried.
Together.
Right. Depending on what social media clips you listen to me trying to get to say back John Gruden's plays and all that stuff.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I've only been crapped on 9 million times because of that. But as always, thank you for filling in.
No problem.
Devin McCourty is here. Ahmed Fareed is still out dealing with a few issues. He'll be back here at some point, but as always, we're thinking about him. He's the man, Ahmed. I know you know him a little bit. Ahmed's one of the best. He really is. So we're thinking
about
him.
His Detroit Lions.
I'm sure maybe that's part of the reason he's not here
today.
Be hiding. You know it. He didn't want to hear. He didn't want to deal with it. He did not, especially on a day where there's some questionable Dan Campbell, decisions, and he doesn't like to hear that from me at all. But let's start right there. NFC, and as always, let me just say this: the most important thing. This is Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. We love you, Lowe's. Thanks for supporting us. Let's start right there. The NFC, the number one seed, the race for it. We've talked about it a lot today, whether it's back there watching in the viewing room, halftime, getting ready for that. Eagles, Lions, we know are in a dead heat for that number one seed. Let's start with that Eagles-Steelers game first, right? Go there. Just go ahead. Why don't you start it off? What's your first thought of the day? What comes right to your head when you think about that game?
Winning heals everything.
Yeah.
And all of the smoke and all of the talk for the Eagles wasn't about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I always get worried when that happens. When you're talking about this guy, and we're going to throw here, and it's like, did you forget? Like, you're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the game, even though they were playing well, the turnovers
they're making
made
mistakes.
You kind of feel like maybe they're not fully locked in.
Right.
And if I'm on the Eagles, I walk away from that game saying, Nobody can mess with us.
I'm
we
there with
turned
you.
the ball over twice
Right.
against a tough physical football team who we're supposed to struggle against. We turned it over, and then we still turned around, and we kind of owned them all game. And I think that's why I think all of us last week were sitting there like, hey, Philly, relax.
Yeah, right.
Take a breath. Like, I get it. Yes, there's some things you got to work on.
Right.
It's the National Football League. No one's really perfect. Go work on it, but don't make it so public. And I thought they answered some questions for themselves, not for many other people. Yeah, Jalen Hurts throwing the ball, but they need to answer that for themselves. But they're doing a good job blaming the media.
Oh,
that
you said it just right. When you said that at halftime, all smart teams find a way to just blame it back on the media. That's what you should do. You're right. Get it on them. Hey, it's us against the world. They don't think we can do it. And then that's the way a high-functioning, good locker room should work. I agree with you there. I'm with you all the way. And I'm with you on just about everything you said. I mean, I think both of you and I are Eagles believers in what they are as a team. I think we both think they're the most complete team in football when all's said and done, right? You agree with that? The physical battles, they win up front. They can do that consistently. And yeah, we were concerned a little bit last week. Not even concerned. You're right. It wasn't concerned. It's just going, you're better than this.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
the big thing. You're better than what you're showing. There's more potential here. And what we saw today from Jalen Hurts is when people were open, he cut it loose. There was no second guessing or looking at the pass rush or whatever. And you could see that with the way the offense kind of functioned throughout the day. Like you said, the 2 turnovers early in the football game. They had the drop punt, right? And then the Hurts fumbled with TJ Watt punching it out. And you thought, oh, man, are they going to be on their game, or is all the distraction and bullcrap got to them? But once again, I just think with the Eagles, and we'll hit on the Steelers too, it's when they're functioning and playing at a high level, it's hard to be right about anything stopping them.
Exactly.
No matter what it is, right? Load the box. We want to stop the run. What's the problem?
We're going to throw the ball to A.J. Brown and
Exactly
Devontae Smith.
Right.
You stay because I always
we played too deep coverage.
Exactly.
And you go, we're going to stop the receivers.
When you look at these teams,
Saquon up the
I
middle.
always think about when I was playing as a defense. When you watch them, it's like, well, what would you do? What would I want to do to try to slow them down? And the first thing I'm thinking is like, all right, I want to start too high to just make Jalen feel like I can't just toss the ball outside. But then I want to hurry up at some point and get in the box and try to shut down the run game. But because their O-line is so good, it makes it hard for you to say, hey, we're going to play against the Eagles and not bring an extra guy in the box because we believe that our guys are going to win up front consistently.
Right.
It's hard to play the Eagles and say we're going to do that, play in and play out. And that's what they create. They create that issue for a team. And that's why I think it's important for them and the players on their team to not get bent out of shape when it's not your day.
Yeah.
And I know Jalen Hurts said it after the game of like, hey, the way I'm running this thing, it's working at a high level. And I think he understands when the game's going a certain way, he's going to play to that. If it's a hand the ball off the Saquon Barkley game and maybe he runs a couple scrambles, we're going to go win that way. If it's him cutting it loose and throwing it, we'll go win that way. And I think he's okay with that. He doesn't care how it looks. And I think they need to believe in and buying into that. And I said it before, they need to follow Saquon Barkley. This guy could have 10 more touchdowns because of the ball getting stopped at the 1 yard line. He hasn't complained. He's happy. He's winning. I think the team needs to get behind him and follow him and make him – he's their leader. Follow them.
He's the best player in their offense, right? Arguably the best player in the league as far as running back position or in general. I mean, other than maybe Josh Allen, who we'll talk about in a minute. But, yeah, I hear you there. I think they should. I think those are some of the things that they leave on the field that they can expand. Again, we know how good they are. We're talking about them winning the Super Bowl, getting to the NFC Championship game, doing that type of stuff. And that's where, hey, Saquon – more play action passes. I would love if they got under the center a little bit more every now and then and added that element of the play action pass because that's hard on the defense when the quarterback turns his back and nobody. And it fits Jalen Hurts because you can run boots or you run play action where he can get deep back behind the line of scrimmage and then it creates rushing lanes or of course people open way downfield for him to scramble or throw the ball deep, which he's great at both. They're an amazing football team. Thought they really physically dominated and whooped Pittsburgh, which you don't see a lot, right? And I don't want to be disrespectful and say whooped, but they controlled the game. Come on. It's 400 yards of total offense for the Eagles. It's 163 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. There was really only one drive the whole game that was a real drive. And even there, I would throw a challenge flag and go, I don't know if that drive should have counted because Justin Fields slid late on a 10-yard run and they got a personal foul, and that was really the big play of the drive. The Eagles are a tough matchup for anybody in football. And if the Steelers do get another shot at them, they're going to have to readjust their game plan and how they played.
And I think it also highlighted one of the things we were worried about with the Steelers of, hey, George Pickens isn't playing again, and you were able to get away with it last week and get a win.
Right.
But everybody, I think, was worried.
Right.
Like, hey, offensively, what is going to be the go-to? How are you going to kind of get something going when you play against another good defense like the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think the Eagles came in knowing, hey, just don't give up the shot to Calvin Austin or a play like that and just be fundamentally sound. It's going to be hard for the Steelers to move the ball against us. And it was. It was tough for them all day because they just don't have a lot. And I know Russell Wilson has been dynamic, coming back, throwing the ball down the field.
But he can't do it all against this group.
It's been George Pickens.
That's right. They need that guy. Yep. In a game like this, too, I don't think we thought, okay, Pittsburgh's not going to dominate the line of scrimmage and run the ball and be able to chew up clock, not against this Eagles defensive front. So that's a no-no. And then, that was the big thing. Like, I picked the Eagles as a best bet this week, right? And no disrespect to the Steelers because I think Mike Tomlin and them, the matchup was bad. And then when I heard George Pickens might not play again, I said, well,
this is really bad.
Going to get open this week? Who is it? Because we've been talking about the Eagles can play man-to-man. They can do everything. That goes back into our – there are really not a whole lot of weaknesses with them. We know this. Pittsburgh needs George Pickens back because he's their biggest playmaker. He's the one guy that takes pressure off their offense that can get chunk plays.
He can win outside.
He can win outside one-on-one if they start to run the ball and do that type of stuff. I'm not giving up on the Steelers, certainly, but I just think the Eagles are in a special little class by themselves right now. And they had one shot, Pittsburgh, to kind of start to make this a football game in the third quarter, and we can't leave this out too. Driving the ball a little bit, and you're going, oh, man, Pittsburgh's hanging around. Are they going to make this interesting all of a sudden? Toss sweep to Najee Harris. He drops it, kind of looking to make a cut, whatever, fumble, and that kind of felt like that was the game from that point on.
And I think the other thing that sticks out when you look at this matchup for both of these teams is how the Eagles ended the game. When you can end the game going 99 yards, you don't score a touchdown because the game's over. You end on a knee, but 21-play drive to end the game with the ball. Like Coach Belichick used to tell us that all the time. You want to end with the ball taking a knee. It's the greatest formation in all of football is that victory formation.
It's the best.
And you don't expect the Eagles to be able to do that to the Steelers, to T.J. Watt, and I know he got banged up, but even without him, Herbick, Highsmith, Cam Ward, Benton, you have all of these really good football players that you're like, you're not gonna go 21-play drive against the Steelers to hold the ball and end the game. Like it's not. And I think the Eagles, again, it shows how they can do things so many different ways. Yeah, we can hit shots. We can get chunk plays. Saquon Barkley can break play. But we also can
muck it up, 3 yards in a cloud of dust,
Exactly.
chew up some clock, do
Yep.
all that. And I don't think we're at the time of the year yet where they've unveiled all the Jalen Hurts runs that I think will come as we get later in the playoffs. You're going to start to see that.
Yep.
Exactly right, where he's going to go, okay, I'm willing to risk it a little bit more. Give me the
sliding.
ball. Right.
I'm like, this guy's too big and
He's too big and strong. He slides a little much for
but
me and Devin at times.
I get it.
Yeah.
Stay healthy.
It's the most
but in
important
the
thing.
playoffs, I would expect to see him finishing kind of Josh Allen-esque on how he plays.
I hear you. I think what we're saying here is it's right now with the Eagles, the way they play, and when they play like we saw today, it's going to take a special team with a special game plan to beat them. I think that's what we're hitting on, and maybe it's this next team we're talking about. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's one of the two, or maybe it's both. Who knows? But let's hit on this, the high-scoring affair, the Bills-Lions, most fun game of the day. I think not even the most fun game today. The most unbelievable game of the day because
the things you get to watch.
Well, I'm enjoying my friendship with you because one, we talk football and X's and O's, and I think we're both nerds like that, where we love that aspect of the game. But I've always been the Josh Allen, like I think people are a little like, oh, hey, would he shut up about Josh Allen? Here he goes. And I know I like him, and I like him as a person too, but I'm amazed about what I see on the football field. And my man Devin McCourty here, right? You join in with the love for me because you're amazed by him.
And I think it's cool because you're amazed by playing the quarterback position, the way the ball leaves his hand.
Right.
I'm amazed by being out there on the field, 2021 playoffs. We don't make them punt one time. We don't stop them from scoring a touchdown one time. It was just play after play. You guard everybody. I'm at free safety. You look back. He's now running at me full speed, and I got to make a tackle. Or somebody has a half a step. He throws a dime. And I played him in one of those games on a Monday night where it was super windy. We only threw the ball
two or three times, right.
He throws a back shoulder fade to Diggs
where
I looked at the rest of the defense, and I was like, holy shit, they just found out
he can throw in the wind. He can do it. In the second half, they started to do it.
They're about to start throwing the ball. And
we
ended up getting a win, but it was all of those moments kept adding up. And when I retired, I was like, yeah, this division's over. This is Josh Allen. Because you knew from the way he came in as a rookie and how each year it just kept getting better and better. And I think now, and I said it earlier this year, I think now he's at the point where his athletic ability is still at an all-time high, but mentally he understands how to attack. And in this game today, he went right down the field, scored, and then I loved Buffalo's approach on defense. You can't.
Because we talked about this a little last week.
You're not going to stop Detroit over and over again.
Exactly right.
But what they did was they said, you know what, we're going to start the game aggressive and do some things that they're not really prepared because we don't normally do this.
We don't,
We're going to steal a play here or there. They did that, got an extra possession. So then now you're up, you're playing from ahead, and then you get one takeaway.
One St. And now you're up fumble, 2 scores.
And now
Detroit's
it's playing, like you said, a game and a way they don't
want to play. They had to abandon the run game. They got down to a point where they couldn't be patient with Jahmyr Gibbs or Montgomery. And what also it does is take advantage of the weakness of the Buffalo defense, which is the run defense. They don't have enough big people that way. That's the one thing you and I are concerned about. But I think to your point and what you're saying, and I do love your Josh Allen fandom because it joins with me. He's a little bit like with the Eagles. You know, it's almost unstoppable at times, it seems like. And this is the year, and I know you've heard me say this a bunch, where I just go, he's got people around him here to where this doesn't surprise me, this kind of game. Like he can win a shootout where I know it wasn't all by himself. It looks like it's all by himself, but there's other guys making plays and doing things along with it. And then when it is a play where, Detroit's defense is going to win, he overcomes it in that moment because we haven't asked him to do it 25 times before that already, right? That's the big thing. But the aggressive D thing, because I know we talked about it a little last week, but my Wednesday Pick Six podcast, that was my, I broke down the Rams, Bills, and the one thing I just went, the Bills can't play like this all the time.
Yep.
They got to start going, like Josh Allen can't be by the Gatorade bottle for 20 minutes, right, over here. Why you're going 4 yards, 5 yard throw, 4 yards. Like that shit, you got to change your style of play. And to me, you and I know you looked at it right away and the game started and we went, man, Buffalo came out, people at the line of scrimmage,
they don't normally
play
do
man-to-man, and it did. It caught Detroit by surprise. They stole a few possessions and got Detroit playing a game they did not want to play. And Josh Allen just again, I'm a historian. I love football. You know that. You make fun of me with all my old guy stuff and all that.
Because we're not that different in age. And Sims will start talking about games in the 80s and stuff. I'm like, damn, he's not that much older. How is he vividly remembering all of
you'll
these
see
details?
when your son grows up, you're going to go, damn, he's got knowledge of like when he was 4 years old because he remembers watching you and all this stuff. And that's kind of what happened to me. I was entrenched in it. But, hey, whether it's John Elway, Troy Aikman, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, again, these are the greatest of the greats. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen is right up there with them, in my opinion. And it's awesome to see, and I don't know, I think we both agree, locked it up maybe today.
Yeah, and I think
just a monumental collapse it would take for him not to win the MVP.
And a monumental collapse with New England twice and the Jets as his last 3 remaining games in the regular season.
I like those chances.
Which I just don't see happening. And what I love about what Buffalo has turned into is it's not a team now where in the offseason they said, we got to help Josh Allen. Let's go get all of these big names.
Right.
They didn't do that. Ty Johnson today started off almost as the feature go-to guy. They have a big third down on the first drive. They set him up. He comes across the field, across the backfield, beats the linebacker one-on-one. Josh Allen drops it in there. Then a big 4th and 2. They motion him out, quick motion out of the backfield to set up the bunch. And they set up the play for him. No one has been sitting there saying, like, man, when they added Ty Johnson,
you're right.
We didn't say when they added, Mac Hollins and got rid of Gabe Davis, no one was saying, like, man, Mac Hollins is the missing piece. But it to me, it goes back to when quarterbacks hit a certain level of understanding the game, they know the strengths and weaknesses of every player. So they know where they want guys. He knows when Shakir's inside and he has a matchup, I know I'm going to him.
Exactly.
When they go man-to-man across the board, last week Amari Cooper had double-digit targets because he's like, you know what? If you're going to try to guard Amari Cooper and you're going to play one-on-one, I'm throwing him the ball.
Yeah, sure.
And he's at that point now. So, again, and I think McDermott's doing a good job of just knowing his team.
Right.
Like, this is how we have to play. I turned on the film last
Playing
week.
through their offense, I
like
think.
you said, he turned it on. He's a defensive guy.
Right.
And that's what I love about coaching in the NFL is it doesn't matter what your expertise is. What is your team right now?
And adjust to
this
that.
This guy's coached teams that were very strong on defense.
Right.
And he's played to that.
Right.
It's not the case this year.
Right.
You
I give him credit too.
3 DBs this week.
You're right.
And he still decided, you know what? Like you said, we're not going to sit back and how we usually do, sit back too high zone and, let you drive, but we stop you in the red zone.
Right.
We don't have that answer this year.
Yeah, right.
So you know what? We're going to mix in some blitzes in there. We're going to do that, and hopefully it creates a play. If it doesn't, we're giving up points anyway, but it at least gives us a chance.
A lot of credit to Sean McDermott because I feel like defensive coaches sometimes are a little more reluctant to think that way, right? They're just always, let me play through the defense. Let me play through the defense. Right, exactly. Right. But as we know, Tony Dungy was one of those guys. Then he went, man, I need a little more offense. And then he got the sheriff, Peyton Manning. He was like, whoa, I should have been doing this a while ago. This is a lot easier playing this way. I do give him credit there. Detroit. We still think Detroit's one of the best teams in football, but we're worried. Yeah. How could you not? It was a tough matchup. I was not shocked that this was a high-flying affair, lots of points back and forth. To me, this was one of the bets of the day, was the over. I mean, the over here was to be had. But Detroit, no pass rushers. They can't contain Josh Allen when he would break out of the pocket. He bought time that way. Right. And then the injuries that we've talked about throughout there. Now maybe Carlton Davis hurt. Aaliyah McNeil, who's their best defensive lineman, maybe their best defensive player altogether with Aiden Hutchinson.
I mean, you got the 2 safeties.
That worries me. And that's to the point where you go, Detroit might have to think about how they start to change the way they play here down the stretch. And even more aggressive offense and put more pressure on their offense this way.
And I agree with you when you said that because we both were sitting in the screening room and we're like, damn, well, Detroit plays a ton of man. But, like, when you start losing guys, you're losing corners, you're losing pass rushers, it's hard to sit there and say we're going to play man, and we're going to play man against a quarterback.
Right. Who loves man and is going to chuck it if he sees us
run or throw.
Exactly.
What advantage? So, again, it's tough, and a lot of credit goes to Aaron Glenn because last Thursday when they played Green Bay, that defense was banged up, and they weren't perfect in the game, but they fought. They made some plays here and there. Today, they fought. They tried to make some plays. Eventually, like, it catches up to you when it catches up to you, and you can't keep saying we're going to lose a guy and somebody's going to step up. We're going to lose a guy, somebody. You're not.
This ain't college football where you got 3 5-star recruits at one position.
Yes. You're getting guys
you
off
and
the
I
street.
both know. Yeah, you and I both know. Once you get past the first 2 guys, the first guy at a lot of places is going to be like, oh, man, this is a drop-off. You get past the second guy, you're going to go, damn,
we're just putting
old
this
buddy
together.
that barely made the team,
Yes.
or actually we cut him and put him on the practice squad starting this week, right? And that's just like, next guy's up, but next guy's up's just a nice phrase to keep the team believing.
Yeah.
Once you have too many next guys up, you got not a very good team.
Yep.
And that's the little bit what you worry about there. They got the bottom line, like we talked about, they got Detroit playing a game they didn't want to play, 59 drop-back passes with that offensive line. Ed Oliver had season-high 10 pressures on 42 pass rushes against the Lions. So that tells you more of what we're saying. They got them into a pass mode. They didn't have to worry about defending their run. They let them just pin the ears back, get after it that way. 11-game win streak snapped by the Detroit Lions. We still think they're awesome. There's no doubt. But they're good. Hey, down the stretch, their schedule, I know it's not incredibly easy here. I'm going to pull it up real quick before we move to the next game.
Here. Chicago, San Fran, and Minnesota.
Right. So
Chicago's not good, but when you get to this part of the season, if teams are still fighting and playing hard, and they're a divisional opponent,
right?
That's
and
not
it's
a
outside in
guarantee.
Chicago.
It's not a guarantee,
right? I would be scared of going to San Francisco the next week with the 49ers in that offense. They might. I know they're probably not playing for anything, but that might not be a good thing because now there's no pressure and they can be flying. It's going to be interesting, no doubt.
For the division,
no doubt. We'll see where Detroit goes. They got some things to figure out on that defensive side of the ball. We're still big believers in their offense and what they do there. We know that. They got caught today. They got caught by a guy on a mission and a team that is hot.
Nobody wants to play Josh Allen.
No, nobody. No, exactly right.
I talked to some guys in New England as they were going in, and they're coming off the bye week. They were focused. They were like, we got to get a win against Arizona. And I said, I was talking to one of my boys. I was like, yeah, because you got Buffalo coming up. And you got to play them again.
Right.
So get the win now.
And
they fell short, obviously. But, again, because if you're watching anything with football, you see what Josh Allen is doing. It's just hard to stop.
Josh Allen, I'm glad, I think, and then we're going to move on, but I think the rest of the public, even some of the haters of Josh Allen, have all caught on. I know you're in the same boat as me, but when I talk to coaches and people who prepare for Josh Allen or whatever, it's always like a wow fest, just like it is with Lamar or Patrick Mahomes. It's a wow, whoa, I don't know if we can defend him. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're just going to have to hope he's a little cold here and there, miss a play, right? And that's what I hear a lot from defensive minds throughout football.
And what people don't understand is because once your game ends Sunday, you review the film Monday, then the coaches, they get ahead. They start watching the film. So when you sit down, you sit back, you're watching, and you're like, okay, we're gonna play man. All right, we watched that game where he destroyed that team, and man, all right, we'll sit too high, which – damn, we saw. So then after you watch 5, 6, 7 games, and you're just like, man, everything he's seeing over the last few games, he's destroying.
Right.
Now that's when you said you talk to defense guys, they're like, man, like we don't really know what to run where we feel like at other times
we're watching defenses that are perfect and he's still getting 50-yard gains on it.
Exactly.
Right.
He's seeing it. And like you said, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, not to say that these guys can't have bad games, but when you watch a certain body of work and you're just like, man, over and over again, these guys are phenomenal. It puts you a little bit in a blender of, I don't know what to tell my guys. And I can't trust him. I tell him, if we do this, we win.
Right. That's out the door with those guys.
Yeah.
That's out the door. That doesn't matter. Yeah, all rules are broken. All right, let's go to that guy. Let's go to Mahomes, Kansas City, on the road, Cleveland Browns. I thought it would be a dangerous matchup for them today because I thought Cleveland, again, without the lack of weapons that Kansas City has, scary speed, Cleveland plays in your face, man-to-man. They can match up that way. And then as you and I said before the game, hey, Kansas City plays pretty aggressive on defense too. And with Jameis Winston, he doesn't know anything but aggressive and throw the ball down the field. So I thought, this could be scary. But the latter part of it bit the Browns in the ass. There are turnovers, things we've seen all year. It felt like honestly a game where they could have gone toe-to-toe with the Chiefs and Mahomes, but the early turnovers and some of the mistakes there put them behind and put them in a spot where it was just a little too much to overcome when all said and done.
And that's what is great about the Chiefs. The conditions don't matter.
Yeah,
where they play don't matter.
Right.
It's raining. It's like, oh, it's going to be a nasty day. And right before the game, I'm like, this might benefit the Chiefs more than anything. Like, they don't have to play this high-flying game. They don't care about that.
Not at all.
They're going to muck it up. And that's what I enjoyed about this game today is this defense has been good. Listen, at the beginning of the season, we were like, this is a defensive football team. They're winning because of their defense. They had some games in there where I don't think they played at the level they wanted to, still having injuries, but they turned the ball over. And they talked about it during the broadcast. That was something that they said they needed to do a better job, creating turnovers. And that's what changed. That's what makes defenses really good.
That's what they were great at last year, sacking the quarterback, negative plays, turnovers.
Yes.
We're not seeing that nearly as much from them. Right.
And then it helps your offense look even better because you're giving them the ball back. And
more reps, more times to see the field, getting a feel for the game, and especially with him at quarterback, and like good luck once he gets to be out there too much.
And I got to give some credit to Joe Tooney. I played with Joe Tooney in New England.
Yeah,
He's the only guy when, we were playing in New England. We played against Kansas City. We got an injury. He bumps out to left tackle. Then like a couple weeks later, or maybe the next year, we're playing a game. Our starting center, David Andrews, breaks his thumb. The next week, we moved Joe Tooney to center, and he plays a whole game at center. And today, Kansas City was like, you know what? We don't like any of our left tackles. We're going to take our all-pro guard and move him to left tackle and put him against Myles Garrett.
Right.
And they sent some help. They did different things. But just the thought of, for one, being a team guy of saying, hey, I'm all pro at guard.
Yeah.
But for the team, I'll move out to left tackle where there is a chance I could be bad out here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to block Myles Garrett.
Right.
And he did it. And obviously it wasn't all perfect. Mahomes got beat up quite a bit today. But I think it made them a little bit – they felt a little better with him out there compared to DJ Humphrey straight off the street.
There was some passes. He got hit a lot, Mahomes.
Yes, yep.
But there was at least some where you felt like he had time and could set up, where the last few weeks it looked like it was a jailbreak. Like he was getting the ball and let me make a move and then I'll try to throw. And that didn't always have that feel today. Still way too many hits on Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Mahomes hurts his ankle, right? High ankle sprain. We're going to see where that goes. His movement I still think is going to be crucial here down the stretch just because of the pass protection issues we've talked about. They haven't been able to just consistently dominate in the run game. We've talked about the lack of weapons and big plays. Game starts off, the damn Browns fumble the punt return, where you go, they make a 3-and-out, and they look good on defense. Yep. They fumble the punt return. They give a short field to the Chiefs. They score a touchdown. Boom. Juju Smith-Schuster right as we're getting settled in for the game. Then it's a stalemate forever. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs finally go on a long drive, make it 14-0 right before half. Yep. Maybe a few minutes left before half. But this is where it all, again, went bad. The third quarter starts. You go, hey, it's 14-0. Mm-hmm. Cleveland's made a few plays. Let's see if they could drive something together. Jameis Winston tries to throw a check down to Nick Chubb, and he throws it off target. Chubb tips the ball up in the air. Interception. Short field again for the Kansas City Chiefs, 21-0. Game over, kind of. Game over. It just felt like Cleveland, and now Jameis has to be too aggressive and throw the ball too much, and there was more interceptions.
When he threw to McDuffie in the end zone.
In the end zone, exactly right.
Those are the things you can't do against the Chiefs. You're driving, and you're going to get 3.
Yes.
Or maybe you're going to score a touchdown, and you throw an interception in the end zone. And that's what they do. They capitalize off your mistakes. Most of the time in the NFL, games are lost before they're won. Teams make the big mistakes and lose the game, and Kansas City knows that. And they play to that. You're going to make the mistake, but I think it all comes down to Mahomes' health, though, for this team. Yes, he has to be able to be mobile in the pocket and all those things, but when we watch this team throughout the year, his mobility has been a huge part of some of their wins this year.
Definitely. Some of the runs, some of the buying at times, whether it's getting the pass interference against the Bengals, whatever. I mean, his movement's huge. It is. And a year like this where they can't protect like that, he's going to need his lower extremities to be 100% to make the playoff run because, like we talked about, they're just not explosive enough on offense. Yep. They need him hitting on all cylinders to make some of the plays we talked about. You talked about that last Jameis Winston interception in the end zone where really at that point in the game, it kind of felt like I know the Browns were losing, but we were like, they're kind of controlling the flow of the game. Kansas City couldn't do anything.
It might have been 21-7 or 14. Like it was still
It was 21-7. Yeah. They were going to be able to make it 21-10, and he threw the ball up in the interception, and he also ended his season right there because he got benched. DTR came in, and I would think that's the last time we're going to see Jameis Winston, even though he's done some really good things.
Isn't it funny how fast things switch up?
Just like that. I mean, we're watching Denver and Thursday night going, this is fun. Last week they play. Right? And who the hell did they play last
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. It was not so great. And then for 3 quarters, see you later. And I would expect we see DTR from here on out. Cleveland, 21-7 loss. Kansas City Chiefs, do it again, as always. Find a way to win. I'm so sick of saying that, but that's just the truth of it. 13-1, the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, let's go to the young and the rested. You don't even know what that is, right? Do you know what that's?
CBS.
Yeah, Young and the Restless. You know it. Okay.
Victor, I know about that.
Okay. Your mom used to watch that or something?
Yeah. She hated when the NCAA tournament started.
Oh, because that threw off the scheduling.
Soap operas went off.
Well, the Ravens were rested. I don't think they needed to be rested against the New York Giants. They could have gone out in New York City and partied all night.
They should have.
And gone out with anybody and got banged up. And I still think they would have beat the Giants fairly easily. This guy was in the MVP conversation a few weeks ago, and because they lost a few games, he's not in it anymore, even though he should
phenomenal.
be.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, he's playing MVP level football. The one thing that jumped out to me before I just handed it off to you today, the way the ball came out of his hand, and I know that's quarterbacky stuff, but the accuracy, the velocity of the football, spirals, I'm big into that because that usually means you're doing things right mechanically and the ball's coming out of your hand clean. And it just, every ball today was like, whoo, what a throw. Holy shit, look at that throw. Damn, off his back leg, whoo, on the money. I mean, I was loving it. And he was on fire. They put the Giants in their place early on who had nothing to answer for. But it was good to see Lamar and the Ravens, back on track.
And he's very similar for me in that Josh Allen category.
Right.
When they both came into the league right away, when they both started playing, you're like, whoa, this is dynamic. There's a lot of talent in here. But it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Remember, this was a guy that at one point we're like, all they do is slants. He can't really throw the ball. You got to make him a passer.
Yeah. Doesn't have a blitz answer. That for a while,
yes,
right?
Miami blitzed him like 30 times.
And they didn't know what the hell to do. There was no answer. Right.
And now you look at him and you look at this chart and you're just like, he throws the ball all around the field. He throws it rolling right, rolling left. And that, to me, is what we don't sometimes give credit to these NFL players of. They play the game at a high level, but when they get in the offseason, they say, hey, this was a weakness. I'm going to attack this and get better. Like, you don't just get better by chance. Like, these guys are watching film, they're studying, they're deciding that I'm going to go get better. And that's what I love to see. Like, Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP. Each year we've watched him in the NFL, he keeps getting better. He's not saying, hey, I just won MVP again. Like, we're good here. No, like, he's like, I want to win a Super Bowl.
He's chasing greatness.
I'm going to get better.
All-time great. Right.
And I think that's the fun part. And I think you're seeing how much the team loves that. This team is playing fun football, especially on offense. When you watch them all year, it's fun. And I think they got to make sure they keep Derrick Henry a focal point. I think sometimes they get away from that, and it changes things for them.
It does a little bit. You're right.
This game didn't really matter. Like, I was talking to my guy, Kyle Van Noy. He got a sack in the game today, and he didn't take DeVito all the way to the ground, just held him. He didn't even celebrate. I was like, you guys look like you were out there against a scout team. Like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah, right. Well, again, I just, to point that out, Daniel Jones is the toughest ever because he could play behind this, and you could see Giants quarterbacks are coming in or dropping like flies every time they get out there, okay? Within that, Lamar awesome. They did whatever they wanted on the offensive side of the ball. He had the one mistake. He fumbled on the first drive of the game where they marched right down the field. He fumbled, so what? It didn't matter. He made up for it and then some as the game went on. Quietly, and I know the Giants' offense sucks, okay? But the Ravens' defense the last 3 or 4 weeks has definitely been better.
Way better.
Way better. What we saw against the Chargers, the Eagles' performance certainly wasn't bad, right? I mean, we just, what they did against the Steelers, even though they lost, the defense wasn't the problem that day. So it feels like ever since that Bengals game where they were in the shootout at home on Thursday Night Football, they've kind of got it straight a little bit, and that's encouraging, which I would expect them to do. I just don't know how good they're going to be, but they don't need to be a great defense, right? They just need to be good. If they're just good with this offense, they're going to be in the Final Four of football, I think, when all said and done.
And I think one of the key things they have to do is just prioritize not giving up the big
play.
Not giving up the chunk PI and different things like that. Like, even in this game they played well. I still walked away a couple times like, you really shouldn't give up the deep ball against this Giants team, because you should, even if your game plan is the same, as secondary players, you should understand that team that we're playing can't drive a 10 or 12 play drive and score enough.
Especially to that guy. Don't let him go deep of all people.
So just don't let neighbors get behind me.
Right.
Don't give that up. And obviously they did a good job today.
Yeah.
But I just worry a little bit of, all right, I look at who left. They're going to play Pitt again. They should be fine because, it's just Pickens, and you got to take that away. But when they play Houston, if Houston can protect a little bit and you got to deal with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, that to me is a thing for Baltimore of, yes, you've played better, but you kind of play some of the less explosive offenses over these last few weeks. Like when you play against the Bengals, that's going to put you to test.
Yes.
When your secondary has to go out there and play, and I look at when they play Buffalo, how are they going to perform if they play a team like Buffalo again? Now, I think Buffalo has their whole other issues having to deal with Baltimore and
100%. That might be 51-50 if they play again.
Killed Buffalo the
Right.
first time they played
Right.
them. Like, what does that look like now? So, again, I like this Baltimore team, especially because when I look at the rest of the AFC,
Yeah.
Buffalo's really explosive.
Right.
Houston's kind of explosive.
Yep.
Denver, they could be, but it's not.
Right.
The Chargers, Kansas City,
Yeah.
So, like, for Baltimore, it's like how explosive we are on offense. Just don't let the ball over our head on defense, and we'll be fine. So it is interesting, but it's very encouraging the way that they've played. I just think they have to make sure they continue to improve for when that big matchup comes, or they get in some type of shootout where the team's able to throw the ball.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. It's down the stretch here: Steelers, Texans, Browns. The last 3 games. Their win today with Pittsburgh's loss.
Yep.
I mean, they're now only a game out of winning or being able to win the division.
Yeah.
So they certainly have that chance now to maybe get back into get the home field wild card game instead of being on the road throughout the playoffs. We'll see where it goes.
And
but
they'll get to play Pitt next week.
They're fresh.
Like,
they're going to play Pitt next week.
Is
George Pickens going to be playing?
Yep.
They're going to be at home in Baltimore. No doubt about that. Baltimore, dangerous. And the more I sit here, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, because a few weeks ago I was like, man, I don't see it with Baltimore's defense. I don't think it's going to change. I'm really scared.
It was weeks.
It was shredded apart. It was the
league.
worst pass defense in football. It wasn't even close. But it does seem like it's turned the corner. We'll see as they get tested here down the stretch here how much better it is.
Zach Orr, they brought Dean Pease back in, their legendary defensive coordinator, the years with Ray Lewis and that Baltimore defense, and they're adjusting. They're doing things differently. Like, they're not just leaving Stevens and Wiggins just one-on-one the whole game. It's not just too high, walking away. Like, it's just, I think they're spinning the dial a little bit. They're a little bit more aggressive in the blitz. Like, I was talking to Van Noy, he was like,
we
blitzed a lot today.
Yeah,
he was like, we were aggressive.
Good.
And you said it a weeks ago of, let's not just sit back in this defense that's getting killed.
It's almost like the Buffalo point.
Yep.
It's the same thing. When you have an offense and a quarterback like that, I hate when teams play slow death defense. I don't like that. Don't do that.
You keep your offense sitting
You
on
get
the
them out of
sideline too
rhythm.
long.
You get them out of rhythm. And all of a sudden you go, damn, we're 3 and out again. Oh, shit. Well, we just want you let the other team go on a 12-minute drive. We're cold.
I remember in 2011, we weren't that good on defense, but with Brady, we got turnovers.
Yeah.
So, like, every time we got him an extra possession, he usually scored. It usually was 7.
Right.
So then we knew if we could hold for 3, he was going to go get 7 again.
Exactly right.
And
all of a sudden you look it up, it's 14-6, and you go, we kind of been in an even game, but we're up 8. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. You guys were the king of that. The king of that. All right, Baltimore looking good. Lamar awesome, on fire. Giants stink. We know that. Let's move on. All right. Texans, Dolphins. Big game in the as far as the AFC South is concerned. Dolphins really hanging on by a thread for their playoff lives, right? They needed to win out, and they probably needed some teams to lose and help along the way. Defense is struggle, right? That's the thing to me about this game where, like, if you were talking to Johnny on the street about the Texans and the Miami Dolphins, all you would talk about was the offensive weapons and the quarterback, and, hey, they do this, they do that. But these teams, neither one is really playing like that. That's kind of an old theme, right? It really is. The Texans are not a high-flying points machine, and certainly the Dolphins are not right now with the way they played since Tua got back. What was your thoughts of the game overall?
And I thought the interesting was this game kind of fit the Dolphins,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, oh, I'm worried when they have to travel and go play in the cold. No, you got to travel, but you get to go play in a dome.
You're in a dome.
So you get to be high flying.
Fast track.
You're not going to like this kind of super loud, aggressive place. Like Houston's
no
not.
cold or wind or
no
whatever.
knock on the fan base, but Houston's not known as like what Detroit has right now with the home field
Sure,
advantage.
right.
So I'm thinking if there's any time for this offense to get going and be able to throw the ball down the field, it's gonna be now. And then you watch Houston play. It's a lot of Stingley and Kwame Lassiter one-on-one outside.
Yes, it is.
So I wrote in my notes, how does Houston decide to play Miami? How do you take away the middle of the field? Are you going to sit there and play man? And you watch Stingley in the 2 interceptions he had, that's locked up mano-a-mano with Tyreek Hill running a fade route down the sideline. And, yes, the ball was a little underthrown, but to me, what I saw a guy running stride for stride with Tyreek Hill, which we don't see often.
No.
Stride for stride with Tyreek Hill.
Right.
So
I think it's the first year we saw Tyreek Hill's speed decline just a little bit, and I don't mean.
And it's been a lot going on. Like,
there has been
the detainment earlier the year.
Right.
He's been a little banged up, I think. Then Tua being out.
Yep.
It just hasn't been like a easy-going kind of routine year for Tyreek Hill. So to me, it was disappointing watching the Dolphins team today. Even though Houston's a good football team, I just thought we would get more out of a team who's continued to talk about we're not done yet. We're going to keep giving ourselves a chance.
We're going to be tougher in these games.
And it's just, like when you watch them in this game, it was,
It was, It was, I mean, first off, it was, on both sides of the ball with both offenses. Houston Texans had 181 yards on offense and won the game. Then Miami was only 224, and they of course lost 20-12. But it was ugly on both sides of the ball. Whether it was C.J. Stroud at one point, the ball got snapped and he wasn't even looking. That gave a short field to Miami at one point. And then, of course, the turnovers by Tua. Whether it was the interceptions, the strip sack fumble, Will Anderson, Tua kind of makes a move in the pocket. He rolls to the left to buy a little time. He doesn't know Will Anderson's behind him. Strip sack fumble. That gave a short field to the Houston Texans and went to some points there. All right, so here's my thing. And you know what I'm about to say because I brought this up. And I really am serious about this. I said this earlier in the year too. And this is what the Dolphins, I don't worry about Houston and C.J. Stroud. I worry about their offense. We've talked about it a lot, and there's some things that need to be fixed. Their defense, I love their talent. They fly around. Like you said, it's the Seattle scheme, but they can play more man-to-man than the Seattle scheme people usually do. The Dolphins' defense has been playing well. They certainly played well enough to win the football game today. You have the fastest team on offense, and big plays have gone bye-bye for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. That's crazy to me, okay? And I know this sounds like whatever, disrespectful, hater, or whatever, but this is what I see, and this is just what I believe, and I've kind of been saying this since last year. But in every big game, the biggest question about Miami is Tua. It always goes back to Tua. Whether it's you and me talking or somebody else talking or I'm watching another pregame show, and it's can they make big plays? Can he push the ball down the field? We're on the road in the playoffs. It's cold and it's windy. Can he do that? Or we're in Kansas City.
Is it 40 degrees or lower?
Exactly right. So there's all of that. And the thing that I keep saying with the Dolphins is your highest paid player on your team is the biggest question mark we have in any big football game. And that, to me, doesn't make sense, right? And I think that's what I worry about the Dolphins going forward. And, of course, their season's basically over after today. But, yeah, I don't love the way that looks with that team and that talent.
And it's a tough challenge for Miami because when Tua was out, they had no offense.
They had nothing.
So, yes, he's a question mark in these big games when you want to be a contender. But when you lose him, you're not like – it was like a JV offense.
Well, they had to go to a third stringer. Remember, Skylar Thompson got hurt first, so their backup got hurt.
Skylar Thompson
it wasn't looking pretty. It wasn't
just
pretty. They were up in Seattle. You're right.
And so I look at this team. I'm like, I agree with you. I don't think they're a contender.
Yeah.
Like I think usually the years past, they're fun. It's exciting. They're dynamic. But I always felt like when the playoffs came and they got into those games where I think playoff football changes a little bit.
It definitely does.
Teams are studying every single game you've played.
Right.
They're going to have a game plan.
They're willing to take some chances because it's win or go home.
Yes.
Right?
Coach Belichick used to tell us all the time, once you get to the playoffs, every team has watched every snap you've had. If you can put in a few new things that you haven't done all year, it could be the difference in the game.
Yeah.
And I always look at the Dolphins and I was like, everything else bothers them. When you have to go into a game and we have to worry about, is it too cold? Is this happening? Is that happening? Like, you can't do that in the playoffs. You got to be able to show up and they tell you, hey, this is the time you're going to play, this is a date, and this is where you're going. You cannot care about that. It has to be all about the other team. And I don't think the Dolphins have that yet. And I know Deshaun Elliott, he left the Dolphins. He was playing there, and he said they're soft. Like, this was a guy who was there. He left. He's in Pittsburgh now. And he said they're soft. And I think that is something about them until they break that narrative. And the only way to break that narrative is to go do it.
Do it.
And they just haven't done it. And I get it. We're in the media, so if they do it in a regular season, we're still going to say we need to see them do it in the playoffs.
Right.
But they at least.
But they don't even do it in the regular
season
too. I mean, we're sitting there last week. It's up in Green Bay. It's a big game. Oh, it doesn't happen. The offense doesn't do anything, right? So yeah, I know you're right. They're never going to hear the end of it until they answer that question. The Houston Texans. What are we feeling there? The offense, I do worry about it. I mean, it's incredible actually how stale it's got. We know they got some talent. The scheme itself bothers me. He's always under pressure. It never seems comfortable, or people are consistently open like we were so accustomed to seeing last year. I mean, it kind of feels like they're going to have to play an ugly they won the AFC South today, so that's locked up. But they got to readjust here
to see where they fit in this true AFC picture.
Because I don't feel confident about them. 9-5 with
I think it helps them the way the Chargers look. Okay. Going in, I thought the Chargers, I'm like, I know they lost to Kansas City.
Right.
But going into this week, I was like, the Chargers probably look better than Houston. And then Tampa steamrolls them. I think the challenging thing for Houston is what you're saying is there's been a problem with protection and what they're doing, but it continues to happen.
Yes.
And that was the main thing I was looking to see today, coming off the bye week of, did you fix some issues that you had with the protection and C.J. Stroud? Is he going to do the Mike points and try to figure out and send the guys, or is it still going to be off? And today it still didn't look fixed.
No,
it still looks like an issue.
Definitely not. Couldn't run the football at all. Really never got in a rhythm or sustained anything all day. Let's hit it. The changing point of the game is it is 10-6 the fake punt. I think it was 13-6. Excuse me. Fake punt around midfield. I'm gonna Agunawale, right? Good job by you. Way to go, Agunawale.
We were both thinking the same thing.
Man, I know. I chickened out on Football Night in America. I was about to say it, and I was like, I'm gonna mess it up. So they ran a fake punt. It was a good play by D'Amico Ryans. That's what I said because I was afraid. Good play call by D'Amico Ryans. But Agunawale, he makes a huge run. It was a creative, but that was really that put them up 20-6. Gave them the short field. They went in. They scored the touchdown, and you just felt like from that point on. Yeah, with the turnovers and Tua turning the ball over down in the red zone 2 different times, that hurt them.
The one encouraging thing to me was the way their defense played.
Yeah.
I think even without Azeez Al-Shahir, they still came out there, and I get it, like the hit and all that, but when you watch them play, he's a tone setter for this defense. He comes downhill, he hits people, so when you go into a game without him, that's a lot. Like when you lose a guy like that, and I thought they came out against an explosive offense who, between Jonnu Smith, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill, there's different there's different guys that you have to prepare for. It's not easy. And they really came out and dominated the game on defense. Will Anderson Jr., to me, is a guy that jumps off the screen when you see him pass rushing, you see him do different things. So having him out there and being fully healthy takes his defense to a whole nother level. So, and I think they're going to count on their defense to really have to step up for them to have any kind of run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't look at it to where the offense can be transformed to such a point where we're going to be here in 3 weeks and go, oh, they figured it out. Now they're in the wild card game. Don't worry, guys. They'll be back to 30 points a game. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it is.
And they're going to have Kansas City and then Baltimore.
Yes.
The next 2 weeks. You end with Tennessee, which should be a game you can easily win, especially last week of the season. Who knows what Tennessee looks like, but they're going to be tested in these next 2 games.
They definitely are, and I think you're right. It's going to have to be more play through the defense, manage the game that way, and hopefully we can draw up a play every now and then to where we can take a shot down the field and C.J. Stroud will hit it to Nico Collins. All right, you got anything more to say about that game?
No.
All right, here we go. Let's move on to the next one. Now it is time for Home Team Help presented by Lowe's. All right, Lowe's Home Team Help. We're always here to highlight an underrated performance, and for that, we're going to go to the Broncos-Colts football game today, which was an interesting one in itself, too.
It was.
You talk about a game, and there's always like a game or two like this every week where you go, wait, one team felt like they were kind of outplaying the other team for a good period of the game, but didn't take advantage of those opportunities and let the other team hang around. All of a sudden you look up and you go, wait, the team that was controlling it and dominating is getting their ass kicked now. What the hell happened? Well, here's how it happened. All right, we'll get into the specifics of the game. But 13-7, Bo Nix just threw an interception. Jonathan Taylor breaks a run off the right tackle, and he is going to go untouched for a 47 or 48-yard touchdown run, and decides to start celebrating a foot or two short and drops the ball, and it becomes a touchback. The Broncos get the ball back, but instead of being up 20-7, it kept it 13-7. The Broncos then got it to 13-10 and slowly started to chip away, and then all of a sudden we were there halfway through the third quarter going, wow, the game's totally flipped and the Broncos are totally controlling it.
Yeah, and especially because early on, as we looked at this Denver defense, I thought back to right away when they played against Baltimore, and you have this running dynamic quarterback, and Anthony Richardson started off running.
They put them in a bind, definitely.
And they get that touchdown, they go straight down the field, and you're like, okay, Denver better wake up.
Right,
and Jonathan Taylor, like you said, as he's running in, and you're like, man, like Denver's going to be down 20-7, and they're not out of it. But this is the
they
last
hadn't played well on offense
be.
yet and anything. Yes. So you didn't look at it and go, oh, well, they're going to be able to just come back, no problem here.
Exactly.
Right.
And now you're sitting there like, okay, you're going to go down 20-7, and Indy's going to just run Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. They're going to make it hard on you. And to make a play like that, and that irritating, I think all of us, we were in the viewing room earlier, and somebody else did this earlier in the day where they didn't do it on quite Jordan Battle on Cincinnati. He's running with the ball. He kind of switches it.
Right.
He's probably going to hold the ball up.
Yes, and he dropped it. Right.
And you're sitting there, it's just like such a huge play in the game, and you do that, and you see, and I hate this too, is everybody's like, oh, man, it's all right, JT, it's all right. It's not all right.
No.
Like, that was over with. That's it. You have a team where you're playing against a really good defense, an aggressive defense, and we have a chance to have them on their heels. We have a chance to put them on the sideline looking at each other like, what the hell is happening? We don't know why we can't stop them. We're doing everything we can. We're calling different plays, and next thing you know, they're intercepting a trick play and they're scoring. So I just think you got to, in this league, when you have a chance to put your foot on somebody's neck and really bury him, you got to do it.
You got to do it. They're too good. It's the NFL. It's too close. It's too good. You give the team another, second breath, whatever, second chance to fight. They're going to find some rhythm and get it going at some point. It was a sloppy, ugly game, and I actually misspoke there a little bit because 13-7, okay, just to take you through just a little bit of what happened here in chronological order, right? It was Jonathan Taylor drops the ball in the end zone. They do not go down and get a field goal. Nix throws another interception. And then Pittman fumbles the very next play on a little throw over the middle of the field. And then the Broncos got a field goal to make it 13-10, and that's where it never changed and never went back. And I believe it was another interception by Richardson again that gives the short field to the Broncos and basically just opened the floodgates. Broncos they got to play through their defense. They need to run the ball, and then Bo Nix can be timely and aggressive passing down the field. Today, it looked like it was a little too much all on Bo Nix. They couldn't get the run game going, and we've talked about, like with the Colts and the defense and the inventor of the Seattle scheme, Gus Bradley, it's hard to find ways to make big plays on that defense. You have to be patient. You have to be willing. This goes back to even when I was with Josh McDaniels and even talks like when you guys had to play the Seattle Seahawks and stuff like that. You gotta think of a game of like, we're gonna go 20 for 25 for 210 yards today, and hopefully one touchdown and no interceptions, and that's the way to play because they're not going to give you up those big plays. He was sloppy today, made some bad turnovers certainly, but nonetheless, I think that's the way they got to play. When they got to ask him to throw the ball 30-something times and rely on him too much, they don't want to do that. As good as he's been, he's still a rookie, and they're not that talented a receiver to where they're just going to tear up the NFL with their passing game against some of the better defenses in football.
And that's the beauty of the NFL, because you have Bo Nix, you play against this Cleveland defense who is known to be pretty good, but they play all man-to-man. So every time Bo Nix comes out, he's like, I know what I got. We're going to run away from leverage. We're going to hit over routes and crossing patterns. Then we're going to take some shots because we can see what they're in. But then I said it even before the game. You're going to play a team that plays mainly zone, and they're going to do some disguise and they're going to do something. So now you got to figure out what zone it is. Where can I fit the ball in? And he tried to make some plays today, and he got intercepted, and it didn't work out. But then another credit goes to, you said it, Denver's defense. Patrick Surtain has been one of the best defensive players in the NFL this year. Week in, week out, covering guys, taking top guys, and they're playing without Riley Moss, who's been a really good number 2 corner, and then obviously Nick Bonito. Back-to-back pick sixes, making plays like that, and I think that's what Denver decides to do, and that's how they want to play.
Yeah.
You just said it. Let your defense make plays. Let Mims make a big punt return. And I get it. Bo Nix has been taking steps. He's been improving, and he had jumped into that Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year category. I still think it's Jaden Daniels and what he's been able to do.
Agreed.
Like,
I think
he's
it
the
is.
guy over
Yeah,
there.
right.
But again, Denver is dangerous. I still think they're a good football team. And again, ugly, but when you find a way to win in the NFL, you walk away and say, we won. Now let's work on these things. And it's a better feeling of making mistakes, falling short in some areas, but you get a win and allows you to keep going
It's the best
forward.
point for the coach to tee off on you a little bit, because it's like, we won, but I can be hard on you because
Yes.
it wasn't good and we have a lot to improve
Exactly.
on. And now I can yell at you, but you're still in a good mood because we won, and you'll be able to deal with it better. It's the perfect scenario. You hit on it. The Marvin Mims punt return, he's starting to show up on a weekly basis.
Explosive,
they
man.
need him to make big plays. I do think, like, to your point, Denver's a team that is going to be a pain in the playoffs if they do get in, because they'll be able to play defense. Sean Payton will stay patient with the run, and he'll game plan a few specific
that's the
plays,
thing.
shots, and that's where his beauty will come in. But either way, Indy was outscored 24-0 in the second half, 4 turnovers, 0 points in the second half by the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson's getting better, but as we've talked about, needs polish. The throwing is just not consistently good enough. Hopefully he can work on that, because they do put you on a bind. The way they run the ball and the way he can chuck 60-yard bombs, you have
with
to
the
worry
guys,
about pick
Alec
your
Pierce,
poison.
those guys can run,
Exactly.
Downs,
But
yeah.
if you can't just be all that. You got to find ways to get some 10-yard completions, some 15-yard completions, and that's where they're a little bit all over the
He's going
place.
to be interesting, just the same way we talked about Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You come in with all of this talent. Every offseason, what are you going to do to get better, to turn into a polished quarterback that can then do everything? He got hurt last year, so he didn't really have a rookie year. This has really been his rookie year.
This is a real rookie year.
And he's gotten better, like you said, throughout this year.
Yeah.
Now it's all about how do you continue to do that going forward.
Yeah, we'll see. 9-5 Broncos, Colts 6-8. Playoff chances are slim to none.
Yeah.
As we talked about, the Texans have won the AFC South. That's in the bag. That's all she wrote. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back to hit some more games right after this. All right, welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. We love you, Lowe's, for sure. I was in a Lowe's commercial once. Did you know that? That's some big time. Yeah.
Are you handy?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, not at all. Like, literally not handy with anything, okay? Like, literally call somebody to help.
Throw a football.
Or,
Me and you are just the same.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure.
My wife's more handy than I am.
Oh, all right, good. That's pretty much the same here, too. The only thing I'm good at being handy in my house is like, oh, the chickens need some feed out on the yard. Oh, you need me to go help the horses and bring them into the stall? Like that's about it. That's you want me to get the dog out there to go to the bathroom? I'm good that way. But that's not exactly what Lowe's is talking about with their home team help or their improvement. All right, let's go back to a guy who went back to his college home. Jaden Daniels going back down to Louisiana, playing the New Orleans Saints and the Rizinators down there.
The Rizinators.
The Rizinators.
Jersey's finest.
You know, they have been tough. They've been scrappy. They certainly have not given up, the New Orleans Saints. That's for sure. Commanders off the bye week. We kind of all had our little questions, concerns. What will the offense look like? Can they hold on here down the stretch and still get in the playoffs in the NFC? Yes, they can. Yes, they won. And it's because the damn quarterback is just it's hard to believe he's a rookie, really. I think I'm actually more amazed by his surgicality than I was even amazed. Like C.J. Stroud last year, I was amazed with holy cow, how many 15 and 25 and 30-yard awesome throws were like that? Jaden Daniels, every week, I'm just like, well, it's 3rd and 4. Oh, strike, first down for a 6-yard throw. Oh, it's 3rd and 7, 8-yard throw, strike, first down. It's 3rd and 2. Oh, he broke a tackle and got 3 yards and ran for the first down. He's just unbelievable. It continued to move the chains, accuracy, whatever. I'm amazed by him. I know that.
And I think we all was like, all right, what are they going to do? They won in the bye week. Are you going to find a way to get the ball to Terry McLaurin no matter what?
Right.
Is the run game still going to work? And they came out against New Orleans, and he got sacked. And you said it, I think it might have been at halftime at some point in the show. He got sacked 8 times. You're like, probably should have been 15.
Yeah.
But he was able to escape by time. Dude, he just does so many different things. The first touchdown he threw to Terry McLaurin, where he bought time, he almost slipped, and he throws the ball, and we're like, oh, no. And then McLaurin comes out of nowhere and catches the ball. And
looked like it was going to be a pick in the end zone,
like
the way it was.
Decision.
Yeah, but
terrible
put it
decision.
on the money.
And that, to me, has been so fun watching this guy because a lot of the plays that he makes, that team needs him to make. For them to be successful, he has to continue to be the guy. There's no wait for the defense to make a play or just hand the ball off to Brian Robinson Jr. He'll get us there. Then you only have we need Jaden Daniels to be incredible a lot for us to be good. And he's poised, he's calm. Like usually you get sacked 8 times, it rushes you, start making bad decisions. He didn't.
You wouldn't even know that if you look at him during the game. If nobody told you he was getting sacked, you'd be like, "Well, he seems fine. He's not bothered by it." In fact, he's weirdly smiling again after he just got his head knocked off. Actually, he doesn't ever seem bothered. I mean, you see negative plays, and he still gets up and he's like kind of looking around and smiling. He never loses control of the football. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think we still both want to see more shots down the football field, right? That's the biggest thing. If they want to win in the wild card round or win some games in the playoffs, you just can't be – I even said during the game at one point today, I was like, is every drive for them like 12 plays, 50 yards, right? 14 plays, 66 yards. It's hard to do that. Their defense played well today. Luckily, I think the other thing that happened for them is – the Saints started Jake Haener, and the Saints couldn't do anything on offense, really, through the early part of the football game. Washington's defense played well, got some stops, and got Washington and Jaden Daniels in what I always call, like, field position touchdowns, right? We got the ball around midfield, and we just had to make 2 or 3 good plays, and all of a sudden we're in field goal position. If we make one more play and I scramble and make a play, boom, it's touchdown. We got a touchdown. And that's where it kind of felt like early on, it just was too little too late from the Saints offense before they got going.
And it was almost a key point in the game where the Saints were driving, they were trying, and Frankie Louisville has a chance to get an interception. He drops the interception, what ultimately leads to the Saints, I think, scoring a touchdown or kicking a field goal.
I think it was a touchdown.
We were sitting in there, and our producer, Matt Casey's like, hey, let's remember that. Let's see. But the 2-point failed, so we didn't have to ever come back to that moment. But I think that's the thing with Washington. New Orleans has been fighting, but overall, they're going to play better teams in the playoffs. You got to be able, we were just talking about before, you got to be able to close games out. They controlled this game for the most part, but they kept letting New Orleans hang around, and it was almost – they were 1-2-point play away from walking out of that stadium and being like, how the hell did we just lose this game? We controlled this game, and we somehow lost to a team we're better than. So I just think that's the thought of sometimes you have a younger team, a team that a new head coach, you're still putting those pieces together, and I think they'll figure that out. But I think that is something they're going to have to be on top of when you enter the playoffs of, when we get a team and we got them exactly where we want and they make a bad decision like Rattler made, I mean, threw it right to Frankie Louisville.
Right.
We got to capitalize in the game right there, move on to the next round.
Right. Rattler did a good job coming in a tough spot, right? Their offense, like we said, did nothing in the first half. He came in the third quarter, gave them a jolt right away. They went right down and scored and made it 17-7, right? Then it became 20-7. Saints drive a little again, and then that's where the Risonator, he called the fake play. That was the end of the first drive. I'm sorry, it was the end of the first drive with the Kamara catching the one-handed catch. But Rattler, at least was willing to pull the trigger and be aggressive with some throws down the football
why
field.
They didn't go to
I really don't know either. It's like they got soured on him because he got beat up and had a few mistakes early in the year when he had a play, and I think we will see him. Which should have been expected with that football team, 100%. I think we'll see him from here on out. But your point too, I'm with you with Washington that way. I think it is going to have to play through their offense. Mm-hmm. Their offense, I still think, has to get better from what it is, even though I'm still impressed with what this guy does. It's going to have to just be a little bit more explosive. We'll see if Cliff Kingsbury can still find some ways to be effective and do that. We all know that I'm on his case and everybody else is a little bit about him not getting figured out late in the year, this time of the year. The 2-point play. That'll be one where Rattler's going to be sick when he watches it tomorrow, because it's sprint right option. It's the old Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, the catch in the back in the end zone. It's the staple of every West Coast offense. It's like one of the first 10 plays you put in. The rule is like, hey, you sprint out to the right. If the guy in the flat has leverage, put it on him. But if he's not there, the guy behind him in the end line is going to kind of act end line and then come back out. And he was there. They blew the coverage because it looked like the guy that was on the outside, he dropped to try to stop the guy in the flat. Yep. Rattler didn't see it. Part of being a rookie. Either way, Commanders get the win 9-5, and now are really sitting pretty as far as they can control their own playoff destiny here from here on out, as long as they win.
And that's the thing, as long as they win, because you look right below them, you have the Rams. The Rams are going to play the Jets, Arizona, and Seattle. Washington still has to play Philly, Atlanta, and Dallas. So Philly's going to be a tough game. You played them earlier this year. It didn't go your way. You're going to have to play against Atlanta. We don't really know.
No, we don't know. But
Atlanta's going to be
still
fighting to try to see if they could get that division away from Tampa. And then Dallas, I don't know what it's going to be by the last week of the season.
But they're
the
still
Dallas
fighting.
Team we're watching
I wouldn't
want
to mess with them now.
I wouldn't want to play. Exactly.
They just whooped the crap out of Washington a few weeks ago.
Opponent, they know you.
Right.
So they're going to have to be on it, because the way Matt Stafford and the Rams are playing right now, they're trying to get into the playoffs. And to me, that's the key. When you have veteran quarterbacks who understand, Matt Stafford, Super Bowl champion, Whit McVay, Super Bowl champion, they understand, and being in these situations, they don't really see it as pressure. They're like, hey, we gave ourselves a shot. Now let's go do it. Right. So Washington's going to have to be on top of these next 3 weeks to make sure they stay alive. And all of the work that they put in earlier in the season to set themselves up, you finish and execute and get into the playoffs.
We'll hit on it later in the show, but Seattle losing to Green Bay has helped Washington.
Yep.
Right, because now the Rams are in the lead in the NFC West. They're the 4 seed. Washington is a game up on Seattle, but the tiebreaker's conference record, and Seattle's 4-5 in the conference, and Washington's 6-3. So they're going to have to surpass them in the win column to pass up Washington. That was big tonight. That Washington wins, Seattle loses.
And Seattle has Minnesota, Chicago, and the Rams still on their schedule. So
right. All right. Let's hit on that game. Let's go right to the Sunday Night Football. It's in the books. We didn't give you the updates like we usually do live and in person.
It wasn't much to update.
No, there wasn't much to update. You're right about that. This is one. Let's just be serious. It came out ass-whooping style. Yep. Green Bay Packers, they said, we're going to give it to Josh Jacobs, and then we're going to give it to Josh Jacobs.
What was it, 10? I think he had
10 out of the first 11 touches. And
Yep.
the one other touch was Jordan Love, who scrambled for a first down to run the ball, other than that. So they came into a game, in an area of the game where I was like, man, well, Green Bay, the way Seattle's played on the defensive front lately, is Green Bay going to be able to run the ball on them tonight? And they were like, yeah, Chris Sims, we will. Don't worry about it.
And it was interesting because leaving out of the Thursday night game against Detroit, I think everyone was like, hey, they need to trust Jordan Love more. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just trying to run. They're kind of handcuffing them. So you're like, well, Seattle's definitely going to force them to do that. They're going to stop the run. They're going to look. And the game starts, and you're like, holy shit. Like, Josh Jacobs is doing everything. They threw the ball to him.
Yeah.
He ran. He's running over people. And I always think about that as the first drive is what we call the scripted, the first 15. Okay, they kind of got us. The second drive, it was like, it's the same
thing, right.
I'm like, Seattle, we got to do something different. Like, we got to adjust to what they're killing us with. And to their credit, they did. And then Jordan Love started throwing the ball, connecting to Romeo Dobbs. Look, he had 2 touchdowns today. So that, to me, is what Green Bay and how they want to play. When they can play that style, they're really good.
They are,
and I think they're.
I think they're slowly bringing him along, like almost like how in football night in America, you were like, the number one goal is just to have Mahomes healthy for the playoffs. Yeah, we'd like to win the number 1 seed, but let's just not forget the number one thing is if we have him healthy, we can beat anybody anywhere, right? I think they're a little bit like, hey, we're good enough. We're going to get in the playoffs. Let's just try to make sure we can get him hitting on all cylinders before we get there. It felt like that again tonight. Like it was like, hey, let's kind of baby him early and get the offense going. Here's a few cheap completions. Hey, look, you're doing pretty good. And then it started to be like, oh, there's Doubs down the field. Oh, there's Jaden Reed. Oh, Christian Watson. Ooh, on the money. That looks like the Jordan Love I like. So we saw inklings of it tonight. I think that's what I was encouraged by. I know we were sitting here a lot in the third and the fourth quarter and weren't watching closely, but there wasn't a lot to watch closely. Seattle's offense never really got it going. The interception Geno throws in the end zone was a huge moment. Valentine, right?
Yep.
Who makes the play. Does a great job coming off an underneath route, spinning out, getting that. That kind of felt like the moment where Seattle lost control of the football game.
And it was one of those plays because at that point it was 17. Was it 17-7?
I think it was 17. It might have been 17-3.
17-3.
Right.
And you're driving, and one of the things, and you'll know more as a quarterback, is Valentine opens his hips up. So he opens his hips, basically telling the quarterback, yeah, I got this guy in the flat, but I'm also got my hips open so I can go backwards. Now, Valentine made it harder because he spun
around. I know.
So it looked prettier, but it was just like his hips are already open. He just needs to go back. And that's been the issue with Geno Smith in the red zone for this team is just like, hey, Geno, like, it might be there, it might not. Let's live to see another day. Down.
Right.
Like let's not try to thread the needle in there and then we get it intercepted. And now instead of maybe being 17-10 and a whole new ball game, or we go 17-6 and we kick another field goal. We throw an interception.
They got a field goal, 20-3.
Like,
right now, it's like, really, oh man, it's 3 scores. Forget the run game. Here we go. We got to draw back. Now we're not that great at pass protecting, and we got a pretty good defensive line who can get after you.
That's been Seattle all year, right? We watch them a couple times, and we're like, damn, they got it. Like they're clicking. This defensive line. Like I'm watching film this week, and I'm like, they switched up the linebackers. They got Jerome Baker out of there. They put the rookie Knight in there. Defensive lines,
the kid Ernest Jones has been good, right?
I'm like, I love what they did.
Safeties are awesome.
You got all corners back there, basically.
Exactly,
nickels,
right.
But they can be versatile and do different things. Oh, I really like this. And they come out today and you're just like, this is not the team I've watched the last few weeks on film, and they've been inconsistent all year long.
That's what it is. Inconsistent. They're explosive. They have potential. There's some pieces there that I look at and go, ooh, the future is bright. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, they're in trouble now. Sitting here at 8 and what are they going to be 8-6 as we sit here right now, and have the Bears, the Vikings, Bears, and Rams on the schedule certainly. So they're gonna have to play some good football here down the stretch. I don't like their chances. I'll just say that, especially with Vikings and Rams on the schedule. I definitely don't like that. But we'll see. Maybe they can prove us wrong.
NFC, though, they didn't want to see these Rams in there. We talked about that last week.
Yes, sir. You don't want to see that. All right, that one's in the book. Sunday Night Football, good one there. Collinsworth, Tarico, they were on point as always. Now it is time for one of the favorite segments of all time. It is Give Me the Headlines, presented by Hyundai. And this time, we got some doozies. I've been in the print and press.
Let me hear them.
We're about this all day. It's the Buccaneers Chargers game. And they're buying a stairway to Evans. You don't even know what that is, do you? Do you know what Stairway to Heaven is?
I do know what Stairway to Heaven
is.
You
do? Okay.
But with you singing that, I don't know what that was.
I ruined it.
That was just brutal right there. Can we not get some kind of voiceover for that?
No, we'd have to pay millions for that one. Sorry. That's Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven.
Podcast not there yet to pay millions for it?
Not yet. Not yet. If you come on a few more times, we might be able to work that out, all right? But Buccaneers Chargers. Kind of a game that was even at first and just kind of exploded in front of our eyes right now.
It's kind of what we expected. Like, hey, these are two good football teams who are playing good football right now. Hasn't always worked out for the Chargers, but it's like this is good. This is
good. It was 17-13, and you're going, like, wow. Whoa. And then I feel like the only team I saw do this to the Chargers defense all year was the Ravens.
Yeah, yep.
Right, where it just all of a sudden everything was working. Bombs down the field, opening up huge holes in the run game. They ran for 223 yards today. I mean, the three-headed monster of running backs that they have, but really the two with Bucky Irvin and Rasheed White. And then, of course, hey, Baker, when he's on fire, he's aggressive, and, man, Evans down the field all day long.
And I think you and JG said it before of the biggest concern for this Chargers defense was the quarterbacks that they played against.
Yeah.
It wasn't at
JG's
the level.
been big on that all year. Right.
That you walk away
Right.
and you say, hey, I remember we watched him against this guy. So far, like Lamar Jackson, ate him up. Joe Burrow, good day against him.
Yeah.
You look at, they did a good job against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but there's a lack of weapons there to help him out. Right.
And then you
right.
see again, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is that type of quarterback of if it gets going,
Watch
he might
out.
throw an interception
Yeah,
or two. He's
right.
not at the Jameis Winston level where it's 5.
Right.
But Baker might throw you 2.
Right,
But
right.
if he gets rolling and gets cooking, now he's running. He's trying to run over people. He's throwing the ball down the field. And that's the Baker Mayfield they got today. He was on fire, and he was letting it rip all over the field. And they got to play a style that the Chargers really
No, they can't match it.
Once they start scoring,
exactly.
it's over with.
Well, once you felt like it got to 30-17, you were going, oh, man, the Chargers can't keep pace with this.
way.
They're just not enough. They've already hit their 4 plays they drew up during the week to Lad McConkey down the football field. What else are they going to do here? They've lost their way running the football. That's the other aspect. J.K. Dobbins, that injury is hurt. They certainly don't seem like they're even opening up holes, and I think a lot of that is, too, to what you just said. People are like, what? Their pass game. We need to stop their run game first. We can match up with these guys in the pass game. They're not worried about it. Tampa Bay, put them under another team that we can classify in the NFC to go.
Yeah,
they're not as good as the Eagles or the Lions, but you go, they're dangerous as hell.
Yeah.
And with that guy at quarterback, just like a Matthew Stafford or a Jordan Love that we talked about, you just go, if they're hot and they got a good game plan, I don't give who the hell you are. You're going to sweat it out against this group.
And you said it last week. They needed a pass catcher to step up.
Here he comes.
And Jalen McMillan has been making plays the last few weeks, and that adds to what you have to deal with. Listen, the way Bucky Irvin has played this year, he's a guy that as a defense you have to game plan for.
Yeah.
When he's in the game, where is he at? Is he in the game with Rashad White or just him?
Right.
Is he in the backfield?
Yeah.
Is he lined up at receiver?
Right.
Like he's all
Screens,
over the place.
runs, whatever. The ball could go to him.
And then you put Mike Evans in there. Now McMillan, like you should have a lot of space and opportunity to make plays. And if they get that going, that could be dangerous. I think the thing both of us worry about, and you said it, is defensively. Like, are they going to make enough plays and not give up the big plays? Today they were able to do that against the Chargers.
Right.
But like we said, it's not that hard to do against the Chargers. Like, they did one good thing. They knew where Lad McConkey was every play. Like, not knowing where Lad is ridiculous. He's the guy on their team. And, again, back to the Chargers is, what are they going to get into that's going to give them a shot? Yeah. Because it seems like each week we're like, hey, we know the issues. Wait, what are you guys going to – and it's like they keep doing the same thing. Hey, we're going to run. The run's not working. Maybe Johnson makes a player, but it's not a consistent thing, so we can't bank on that. Dang, they're taking away Lad McConkey. We have nothing. We're just going to watch Justin Herbert not be able to do anything, get hit, make bad decisions because no one's open. There's nowhere to go with the ball.
Yeah, nowhere to go with the ball. They got a 2-game lead as far as the playoff cushion because of the loss today by the Colts and the Dolphins, right? So they're feeling good in that department. But I'm with you. The more this season goes on, the more I go, like 5 weeks ago, I said I had a little crush on them. And I said, man, if they get in the playoffs, they're made for playoff football. I don't quite feel that way now. Now I'm looking at them going, you're going to go to Buffalo in the first game, and you're one and done. I'll see you later.
And they'll get in because they need to win 2 of the last 3. They have
Right.
Denver, New England, and Vegas.
Okay.
They're going to beat New England and Vegas.
Right.
Like that should get them in. But when you go into playoffs the wrong way, you're just setting yourself up to go in there, lose, end your season. Now, it's cool, right? We made the playoffs, but I think ultimately, like, when you get in the playoffs, you want to be playing good football to set yourself up to make a run. You're a longtime Giants fan. You've seen the way that team has maybe not had the best year,
regular
but
season,
they're playing good ball going in, and I know the pain of because
the results of that. Right. And how dare they come together against us? I hear you. I don't think that's going to happen for them this year.
Yeah.
They a few pieces away. It's a good first year for Jim Harbaugh and everything he's done there, but they need some playmakers on offense, another running back, and probably another guy or two on the defensive side of the ball as well. All right, let's move on to your New England Patriots. The Cardinals defeated the Patriots today 30-17. My headline is The Terminator. John Connor was the Terminator. All right.
I trained with John Connor, fullback out of Tennessee. Out of Kentucky. Played for the Jets.
I remember good old John the Terminator. Well, there's a new one. All right. And he's James Connor. Okay. We're going to give him it. All right. We're going to give him it today. 16 carries, 110 yards.
Yeah, he destroyed my guy.
Destroyed it.
It was rough.
He's one of the cooler stories in all of football, really, over the last 10 years, James Conner. But runs so hard. He's very versatile in what he does. Patriots offense could not really get it going today at any point.
I don't know what the third down stats were, but they
0
were
for 6.
Yeah, they were horrible on third down.
0 for 6. Drake May still made some big plays.
He always does.
He always does. It's just a little of the consistency, sustaining drives in the middle part of the game at times that seem to slip by today.
I mean, he threw a pass to Kayshon Boutte and a little bit behind him, but again, Drake May sees Buda Baker flying. So he throws a little bit behind to try to get the receiver to stop. Ball gets tipped up.
Popped in the air, intercepted. Right. Murphy Bunting got it.
Listen, I got to talk to Mayo a little bit last week, and I was like, man, like, you got to just get through this. I said, people are ripping you guys because you're inconsistent. It's like, you're a bad football team. That's the definition of being a bad football team is being inconsistent, and that's what this team is. But again, it's a reminder over the last few years in New England, this thing's been falling apart. It wasn't going to get fixed with 1 year and drafting one good quarterback. My whole thing with this team is right now they got to get from after the game. Boutte kind of throws Drake May under the bus. Like, hey, I should have caught it, but the ball was behind me. Just say you should have caught the ball.
Right.
Like, it's these
always
little,
take the self-blame.
little things that continue to happen for this team. And I think they got to get that out of the way before they can even focus on how bad of a team they are on the football field. But, again, they went to Arizona, and I think for Arizona, it's a good game. It's a good field game. I think New England coming to town, you should be pretty confident that you're going to go get that win.
Yep.
Arizona still.
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row. This was a desperate kind of do-or-die football game for them if they want to stay in the playoff hunt. They were 6-7 going into today. So, yeah, this is a must-win for them. Does it change my thoughts about either one of these teams? Really? Not really. I respect the Cardinals and what they do, but a little bit like I think we just talked about with the Chargers. I look at the Cardinals and go, even if they got in the playoffs, which I don't think they're going to, it'd be a one-and-done type scenario. There's still a few Jimmies and Joes away from being a team that can make waves in the playoffs. Again, like another big-time receiver. They need a front seven that somebody knows the name of, right? Most common fans couldn't name a front seven player in the Cardinals. Same in the secondary. People know Buda Baker, but they just need a little more sizzle for their football team and playmakers that way. But played tough today. Kyler Murray made some damn good plays. Certainly,
he has
James Conner running and Trey McBride seems to show up week after week
at tight end. For the Cardinals, though, they're a little ahead of schedule. You looked at them last year. I think they won 3 or 4 games. This year, you're in it. You're in a discussion to win the division or sneak in the playoffs. Like, you should feel good about that. And again, I agree with you with James Conner. I remember when he was on Pittsburgh and we were playing and Le'Veon Bell was the star. And, Le'Veon was the guy that would get in there and he'd be jumping behind the line of scrimmage. So we were like super patient, stay on your blocks, don't let him go. And then he would sub out and then James Conner would come in and he'd be like,
just right up the hole, right.
You're like, damn, the changeup we used to hate. Like when he was in the game, you'd start yelling at each other, hey, Connor's in the game, So everyone was aware that this guy was about to run downhill like a bull in a China shop.
He's bigger than people realize.
Oh, he runs hard, too.
He's square, he's put together, he's all muscle. He was one of those players I was shocked when I saw him the first time. I was like, damn, he's a bigger human than I thought. I did not realize that. Either way, good win for the Arizona Cardinals. They get the win. The Terminator strikes. And that was Gimme the Headlines presented by Hyundai. All right, we'll take a break, one last break, and then we'll finish up the rest of the Week 15 slate. Chris Sims Unbuttoned right after this. Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, presented by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Me and Devin do not know anything about that, but we try to do our best. We make money so the home gets improved that way. That's what we do.
That is a perfect way to put
right?
it.
That's the way it's done, right? Just how my dad told me to say it right there. That's what he would have said to my mom. Oh, honey, I've been working all day. What do you think I've been doing? All right, let's get into a little portion we called Moral Victories. Bengals Titans, the turnover fest. 10 total turnovers. The most turnovers since, what was it, 1991? 2001? 2007.
Minnesota and Detroit.
I mean, I'm not shocked that the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis are involved in this conversation. I think the shocking thing is that the Joe Burrow and the Bengals were a little involved in this conversation. Either way, Bengals get the win 37-27. Burrow, some incredible plays. I mean, really was what we've seen all year. Right, it is fun to watch. Devin, at one point of the game, went, I think it was like maybe second quarter, I heard you say this. You were like, man, they're just fun to watch because their defense can't stop anybody, and when their offense plays like this, you said something like that where you're like, you don't know what to defend on that.
You want Tennessee to score points because you're like, I want Joe Burrow to
have
go.
the pressure to go
I don't want
again.
you to just be handing the ball
Right.
off because we can control and win the game. No, I want you to be down, and that's what happened early in the game. They scored, Tennessee scored. And they get it back, they scored. You're like, okay, we got one. It's a barn burner, and that's what they do. But it's annoying watching this Cincinnati team because of how good their offense is.
I know.
And their defense got takeaways today, and that changed the game.
Right.
So it made their defense look even better, and they should have had another pick six. Jordan Battle had an interception. He dropped it right at the 1 yard line as he was going across the goal line. But, again, we said it. If this team was playing better, Joe Burrow would be right up there with Josh Allen for MVP, but they're not. It is what it is. Tennessee's not very good.
No.
Will Levis got pulled, and Mason Rudolph went in there. He threw interceptions too, so just not a good look for Tennessee right now.
Yeah, not a good look for them. Cincinnati, as we know, has to win out basically, and they're going to need some help along the way to even get in. But, yeah, offenses, you said all the right things. Burrow is amazing. He really is. I wonder, just off your thing there with the Tennessee Titans, and I know you and I were talking about this, like, I think that the Tennessee Titans have hit a point here where I can say that Will Levis will not just be given the red carpet to go, you're definitely the starter next year. That's not going to happen. There's just too many plays and throws that are like, hey, you might say wow every now and then. Whoa, that was a nice one. But there's too many that's not the appropriate throw, or what the hell are you looking at, or why are you holding the ball in the pocket that long and taking that hit or whatever? Things that I go, these aren't just like rookie things. I just go, that's even too raw like for a rookie at times. And I think there's definitely either going to be somebody they bring in there to be the starter, or at least somebody there to compete with him. But he will not get just like, oh, you're the starter next year.
And I think we got to remember, too, this is not Callahan's guy.
Exactly right. He's a holdover.
When they drafted him, like he's just. So I'm sure he's in there telling the front office, like, hey, don't expect much out of me until we got to get a guy
that fits, right?
Like, this guy's turning the ball over at an unbelievable rate, whether it's been fumbles or trying to do some like crazy play. Like, we can't win that way. So yeah, I agree with you. I could not see Will Levis come back and they say, hey, we're going to build this team around him.
Levis. I think that day is gone. I definitely do. Either way, Bengals get the victory. Burrow, fifth player with 3+ TDs in 6 straight games since Andrew Luck in 2018, to speak about the MVP-type performance we're seeing from him.
Ridiculous.
And Will Levis, career high in interceptions, turnovers altogether, and NFL high, 4th pick 6. I just got an update, actually. Applebee's is trying to sue him for all the free wings they've had to give away for pick 6s this year. They're like,
they might rethink that.
They think they're going like, he's on the fix. Somebody in his family's in on it.
We're not going to make this decision until we find out if he's starting next year.
Next year we're going to do that, but we're going to say there's a few quarterbacks that don't count. That's what they're going to do. All right, let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers. Dallas wins 30-14. Dallas won 3 of the last 4 games. Cooper Rushes look good. Yep. Cowboys have a run game all of a sudden the last few weeks. And then the thing you harped on, when Micah Parsons is out there on defense, they're a different looking football team.
And I think credit to them of the way they lost Monday night. You lose a game like that where your season's kind of on the brink of being done.
Yeah.
And you didn't beat the Bengals, but you block a punt.
Right.
You're going to be pretty close. You have arguably the best kicker in football.
You're sitting pretty to steal the game.
You feel pretty good to walk away with a win.
Right.
And you lose that game that way because somebody goes and tries to pick up the ball and they muff it, and Cincinnati gets it, finds Jamar Chase, game over. You easily could have been like, man, this is over. We're done. They come out, beat the Panthers, and I know the Panthers aren't good, but the Panthers have been playing good football lately. And the Panthers were favored today.
Right.
And again, CeeDee Lamb came out, set the tone. Cooper Rush, finding him, throwing him the ball early and often, helped this team out a ton. And really, a credit to CeeDee Lamb. Think about this. The second Cowboy for 1,000 yards receiving in 4 straight seasons. Just him and Michael Irvin.
That's incredible.
You get to do anything next to Michael Irvin, you're doing pretty good.
Oh, definitely. Now he's going to get to do anything when he whatever wants with Jerry Jones for the rest of his life. Just like Michael Irvin. Hey, you want to come here? You want to go there? You want to be on the sidelines?
Netflix,
we'll do whatever you want. Yeah, We're here. Don't worry. You're part of the squad forever. I like you. I give them a lot of credit. Mike McCarthy certainly has not lost a team with the way they're playing, the way they've adjusted, stayed patient with Cooper Rush, got the run game going, certainly. This game, Carolina drove down early. Bryce Young fumbled on a little quarterback design run or scramble. Yeah. I can't really remember.
Yeah, he was a scramble out there.
It was a scramble, right? Diving forward, ball got punched out. Then there was really no offense from the Carolina Panthers for a long, extended period of time until he hit the one-play 83-yard touchdown pass to Coker down the sideline. And then after that, that was about it for the offense until late in the football game. Once again, Cowboys win that one, 30-14, looking good. They're going to try to spoil some people's dreams here down the stretch. We'll see if they can do that. All right, moving on to the Jets and the Jaguars. Jets defeat the Jaguars in the one game most Jet fans did not want them to win because they want the first pick of the draft. They're somewhere close to it. They want to keep moving. Now they're going to be way down. How dare Aaron Rodgers try to win and create some culture, some winning culture here for the New York Jets? But either way, they get the win 32-25 on the road against Jacksonville.
Is there anything harder than being a Jets fan? Like all year, we got our guy, James Kaminsky. He's in the screening room. He's yelling about what they should do. And today was the day he decided, I'm going to root for the Jags. Like, I want this draft pick.
Hardcore.
And I think all of us sat in there all day was like, watch the Jets have like a game-winning drive to win the game. And sure enough.
There it was.
That's what it was. But, again, when you have older players on a team, there's no such thing about the draft pick.
Yeah, yeah.
You have no idea if you're going to be a part of that.
Exactly right.
Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers do not care about where the Jets draft next year.
Definitely not.
They shouldn't care.
Right.
And I get it. If I'm a fan, I wanted you to win earlier in the season. But those guys went out there, they competed, they played hard, they did the right things. And Devontae Adams and the game he was able to play today is what people expected. But it's always a reminder of, I'm not saying he's done, but I'm saying as you get older, it's harder to week in and week out have a level of performance. And again, this was another game similar to the Miami game of being back somewhere warm in Jacksonville, Florida, where your body feels a lot better than when you're playing in the cold. You warm up better. The muscles feel a little bit more lubricated.
Definitely.
You can play better. And it looked like that a little bit with this Jets team.
It definitely did. We've seen more plays down the field in the past game. I think that's the fun thing, at least with Aaron Rodgers, who, like I've been saying for 3 years, he's too gifted and has too great of an arm to be throwing 3-yard passes all the time. So that was cool to see. They couldn't really run the ball today. They capitalized on big plays in the pass game. Here's the other thing that's just like annoying to me with the Jets. The Jets are still too talented on defense to look the way they do.
Yes.
I mean,
Mac
the Jaguars
Jones really good
what?
Today. Yeah.
The Jaguars moved the ball on the Jets the whole day. Every drive they moved the ball. I mean, it was every drive. They just couldn't score touchdowns in some of these drives. But there was no point where you went like, hey, the Jets this is the third or fourth drive in a row. They've shut them out. Jaguars, let me just tell you some of the numbers. 421 yards of total offense, 8 for 15 on third down, ran for 136 yards. And Mac Jones, who hasn't looked like Jack Diddley shit since he took over, looked like a starting quarterback today. I don't mean that in disrespect to him. It's just them. Their offense has been horrible. He hasn't been great. Either way, the Jets get the victory on the road in Jacksonville, 32-25. That gets them to, what does that make them? That makes them 4-10.
Yeah, they're not on any of our sheets.
And you said it right though. The big thing is Aaron Rodgers. He's playing for a hope of maybe being there or maybe being somewhere else. And he doesn't give a shit what the draft pick is. Right now, the Jets, since they won that, they're the 8th pick in the draft. Right, so we'll see where that goes. We'll see how much that hurts them, and we'll see if our friend James Kaminsky
he survives,
kills himself before the week's over. All right, let's go Thursday Night Football real quick. Rams defeat 49ers 12-6. Mark Floyd, if you get Thursday damn okay to Kobe Turner, the Rams defense really led the way, BS the 49ers, and very much help their playoff chances. I'm guessing he's bullied BS. I don't know what he meant by that. But either way, that was the quote there from Mark Floyd. Rams defense. Like,
coming off. Remember, they were coming off
an ass whooping against the Buffalo Bills.
They won, but, I mean, Josh Allen, 3 touchdowns rushing, 3 touchdowns.
Whatever they wanted on that defense.
Yeah.
And that was not the case in this one. This was another game where you felt like the Niners blew opportunities early on in the football game to kind of control the game.
Even
or at
late,
least go that way. The drop, the touchdown, certainly. Complain all week about not getting the ball. You get the ball in the biggest moment, you don't deliver. Yeah, you're going to get made fun of on social media either way. Rams, Rams struggled on offense, definitely.
49ers defense looked different.
Definitely with Dre Greenlaw.
Him going out, I mean, is when the Rams
kind of started to put the drives together.
Yep.
Exactly right. I mean, you talked about it earlier today, and we were kind of like talking about the Devondre Campbell situation, and we were like, well, what did Devondre Campbell expect? Dre Greenlaw is one of the best linebackers in football. He's like you talked about before, like a heartbeat of the team. He's that kind of guy. Him and Fred Warner are what makes that defense go in the middle. So, of course, he's going to start once he's back healthy and ready to play. Definitely. And then, yeah, you saw it when he was out there.
That was
like,
my problem with Campbell. Like, hey, you're a competitor. Everybody wants to play, and you forget about the guy that's hurt because you're like, I'm out here. I'm out here with the guys. I'm putting in work. And I understand that. But then you get to the sideline, and you're watching the game, and you're like, holy shit. Dre Greenlaw, I mean, the first play of the game, he smacks somebody, hits him. I would have been like, well, I get why I'm on the bench right now.
Yeah.
I understand.
Right.
And then he would have got hurt. I would have been like, well, he messed up. I get another chance to get back in there. But to be mad, and I don't know. I don't understand that. But, again, Dre Greenlaw, like, I hope he ends up being okay.
Yeah.
And is able because he couldn't finish the game. But watching him play defense and watching what one guy could do to a defense, to me, that's special. You have to be a special, not just player, but a special person that everybody's energy, as soon as you came out of the tunnel, the whole team's energy was like, oh, our guy's back.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing season for the 49ers. They fall to 6-8. They're just, hey, there's too many climbs to the top of the mountain and not getting the payoff to where I think it all came back to bite them in the ass. We saw all the contract disputes, the McCaffrey injuries, the team banged up, whatever. Brock Purdy all over the place. That's going to be the big question here down the stretch.
It's an offseason for them.
Well, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's going to have to be some tough cuts, so maybe move on for some people. You could probably make the case that maybe they should have cut the cord last year and just moved on and done Bill Belichick and said, no, that team's over. Let's move to the next one, even though some of my fan base is going to yell at me for a little bit.
It's hard when you go to the Super Bowl.
It's hard when you go to the Super Bowl. They're going to have the Brock Purdy contract situation. That's going to be another thing to talk about here as we go forward. I'm in the camp of I would not pay Brock Purdy $50 million a year. I would not. I'd pay him 30, something like that. But I'm not paying him anything top of the market and changing my football team. I don't think he's a carry-the-team caliber type quarterback.
You don't want the same situation which you explained with Miami.
Or Miami and Tua. Exactly right. I don't want my highest-paid player to be like, I hope we can manage it to make him work today for the game. The highest-paid player, as you know, should be Tom Brady, who you don't ever have to think about. Right? That should just be the way it is. So, they got some tough discussions. Rams, hot football team, playing tough, 8-6. And as we know, they got to win out and hold on to their lead in the NFC West. All right, we got Bears-Vikings tomorrow night. I like the Vikings, of course. I'm certainly not going to pick the Bears. I picked the Minnesota 31-17. We got Falcons-Raiders. We got the doubleheader tomorrow night, too. I picked Atlanta 23-20.
That'll be an interesting
That'll be an interesting one because what's Kirk Cousins going to look like? And we've seen if Aiden O'Connell plays,
I was about to say,
I think they can move the ball on Atlanta.
The thing that's going to hurt them is Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby usually plays hard, but not having him out there is a difference maker for your defense.
It's like your Dre Greenlaw.
Yes,
you just said he's the energy guy for that team, let alone the best player.
And Crosby's played like that no matter what their record's been. And not having him, it could be tough.
Yeah, that is definitely something to think about, 100%. All right, well, that's Monday Night Football. Look forward to that. Everybody enjoy those games, the doubleheader there, Bears, Vikings, Falcons, Raiders. You know where to find us, all right? I'll be back on Wednesday. But before I go, I got to give love to some little DraftKings, okay? DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bets win. Download the app, use promo code UNBUTTONED when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. All right, well, you know where we'll be. Wednesday is the Pick Six podcast. You believe that? I'm a quarterback. I call my podcast Pick Six. I threw a lot of Pick Sixes. I was like Will Levis, all right? I was Will Levis Sims, all right?
Maybe because and you really in your afterlife you should have been a safety.
I could play some safety growing up. Bet. You know, most quarterbacks can. We have feel.
They're free safeties.
We got feel, right?
That.
Exactly right. We got feel for the game.
People,
no, I just trip on me as you run me over, okay? That's what I tried to do. All right, you know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. Hit up Devin Devin McCourty on social media. Appreciate you always, dude.
Anytime,
seriously,
man.
you're an official member of the homies now, whether you like it or not. All right, you're a part of the crew now. All right, Wednesday Pick Six Pod. We'll be back. I think it's going to be me and Connor Rogers. We'll see where it goes because I think Ahmed will still be out. Peace out to everybody out there. Enjoy the Monday night games. Clap it up. Whoop. Yo, homies, thanks for watching. Yeah, it's time. The NFL season is here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned.
You can hit subscribe to get all the weekly picks, plus our Sunday recaps as the games are happening.
Oh, you know it. Nobody does that better than us. Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out. We'll see you next time on Unbuttoned.